Welcome traders to our post-week market review. So jumping straight into things here from where the market opened up. So this was the candlestick. Obviously we have gone over this in our midweek technical analysis. However, I will go over it one more time. So as you can see, price has been bullish from that point. We had this test at this point of control that we established using our fixed range volume profile. And from there, price ended up pushing up to test the same rough area as the previous all-time high at 4,380. Price did in fact create a new all-time high at 4,382, and as you can see throughout the Asian session on the Monday night, sort of Tuesday early hours of Tuesday morning, you can see that we did start to see signs of a bearish push taking place. As you can see, once the London session and volume picked up within gold, you can see that price ended up driving itself all the way down to 4,005, a considerable drop. And then since then, we have seen some consolidation. The good thing about this is we do actually have points of interest already marked in, so there's nothing really for us to go off of. However, what we will do is we'll do what we've been doing in our last few technical analysis videos, and we'll go ahead and get the overall volume for this entire sort of since the bearish move took place. We'll go ahead and grab all of the volume of sort of find our point of control. So we have our point of control around this area here. What I like to do is grab roughly 3 of the volume bars that you see on the side, and then we'll go ahead and mark that in our nice green color. And then we have our value area high and our value area low. As you can see, this sort of overall volume actually sort of draws our it draws sort of this consolidation with the sort of bottom side support, middle point, and then our top side resistance. So with that being said, what are we going to expect and what could we potentially see happening for gold now? So obviously we've established our point of control. So this is the area within the market that we saw the most buy and sell orders placed. So the most volume was within this entire area here. What we will actually do is we'll grab another fixed range volume profile and just sort of measure it from the point of consolidation. So just sort of solidifies it once again. Obviously our value area low is a little bit higher, that's expected in the same way as the resistance, but value area high, but the point of control is still the same. So that indicates to us that these levels are going to be valid. So with these levels now in place on our hourly time frame, as you can see, we roughly have our sort of top side resistance here. And then we have our bottom side support, which we're expecting price to test on. So the interesting thing is you can see that price has come up to this level a few times to test as a resistance. You can see when price enters within this level, and we are sort of consolidating on the lower time frames. We're sort of seeing some vibrations within this level. You can see it sort of happening here as well. You can also see price rejecting off of this level as a resistance, and obviously where the market closed, you can see price is just testing below that level. You can also see that value area low has held as a support, and you can see that it has started to have an impact on gold. And then obviously one of our points of interest, our psychological points of interest, found the lowest level of support there. So with that being said, what could we expect for gold as of right now? So with the current status of gold, obviously we have seen that completely enormous bearish drop. And if I go ahead and go to the hourly time, a 4-hour time frame, you can see that we was in this beautiful bullish push, this beautiful bullish pattern, since obviously we broke past this most recent this previous all-time high at 3,500. So since then, you can just see price has been pushing up. We've had some minor retracements, which is what we expected this initial move to be, and then to push up and create a new all-time high. However, you can see that price has seen a flip in price. Obviously, the overall trend right now is still bullish, but the size of this bearish flip is something that we want to take into consideration. What I will go ahead and do now is we'll go ahead and check the dollar index. Obviously, we have been speaking about the dollar index propping itself up for a bullish push. And if I show you now, you can see that we are starting to sort of push out of this sort of low here. We are sort of testing in and around these areas here. You can see that there's a lot of consolidation sort of for the entirety of last week. So starting off the week, we saw bullish momentum, bullish momentum, bullish momentum. And then sort of when we saw that drop, you can see that buyers and sellers are sort of fighting at this level. For example, if I just drag a fixed range volume profile within this area here, you might be able to get a good idea. I'm not sure why it's doing what it's doing. Bear with me. We just sort of drag it. Maybe we need a little bit more data. Okay, so we're going to ignore that, but overall what I'm talking about is you can see that price is now starting to pull itself out of these sort of bottom lows here, and that is the reason, or one of the reasons, you can see that gold is starting to retrace. So with that being said, what we're currently looking for right now is, you can see that this is the main pivotal point. So this is the point of control, and price has finished in and around this area. We have this top side resistance and we have this bottom side support. Obviously, we have our lower time frame or other psychological levels that we have indicated by these purple rectangle boxes. So they are obviously levels that we want to take into account as well. But what we're currently looking for is, we're going to expect that price is going to continue to consolidate from here on out. And if we see price break through this top side resistance and then surpass our psychological level of 4,170, we're then going to expect price to push to at least this level here of around 4,218. If we then see price reject off of this level as a resistance and break through this bottom side support and our lower time frame psychological level here, obviously this is our value area low indicated to us by the fixed range volume profile. If we see this level surpass, we're then obviously going to be looking at our next point of interest at around 4,007, the same area that price tested as here. And obviously if we see that drop, then we're going to be looking at lower levels to be hit. So it's pretty self-explanatory here. So we're literally just sort of continuing through this consolidation. If we see price sort of push up, if we see price push up and test as a resistance at this level, we're going to expect price to push back down to that point of control. And then if price breaks this point of control, we're then going to expect price to push down to that value area low. If price ends up dropping from this level and pushing down to our value area low and then acts as a support, we're then going to expect and anticipate price to come back up to our point of control, and so on and so forth, until we see a break of our either our value area high or our value area low. If we see that, we're then going to expect one of our psychological levels to be tested upon. Price could break our value area high here, and we could see price push into this level, and then we could see price come back down, perhaps to the next point of control. So there's a lot of scenarios that could happen. It's the same thing as here. We could see this value area low broken through, and we could see price push down to our psychological level of 4,007. Price could test this area as a support and then push itself back up towards that main point of control. So there's a lot of things that can happen within this consolidation area. The main break that we're going to be looking for is if price does push through this level, breaks our very own point of interest, forgetting the levels that we've marked off of our fixed range volume profile. If we see these levels broken here, then we're going to expect, okay, that's a bullish continuation. We're going to see sort of these levels push, perhaps a new all-time high created. Same thing as the bottom level. If we see this level here around 4,007 broken through, we're then going to anticipate that price is going to continue on bearish. There's a lot of things, a lot of different scenarios, a lot of things that can happen. But those sort of the levels that you see marked on the chart, obviously you have the prices on the side. So if you want to, feel free to copy these over to your own chart. But these are the levels that we're going to be focusing on, that we're going to be looking at to sort of base our trades off of. Of course, if we do see signs of continued consolidation, we'll take short positions and take long positions throughout this. For example, if we see price act as a resistance at this level, take a short position here, drive it all the way down to that value area low, nice little short position. Same thing is if we see price come down to this level here, test it as a support, and then we set our stop just below our next point of interest, and then target that value area high, another nice long position, 1 to 2s. Nothing too crazy. Obviously you could do lower time frame analysis and sharpen up your entry and stop losses and take profits, but they're the sort of moves that you could potentially see and that you could potentially take if we do see that continued consolidation take place. But obviously until we see a break, we're going to expect continued consolidation. But overall, if I go to our daily time frame, for example, overall we are still bullish. You can see that this significant drop was quite a drop, but you can see that since prices sort of come down to this level, you can see that we are starting to test it as a sort of support area. And what we will need to see at some point next week is we will need to see a sort of a bearish candlestick sort of move in this sort of fashion here, we need sort of a big pull away from sort of this consolidation. So this is that consolidation that I'm talking about there. So obviously it's lasted 3 days so far, so it probably doesn't have too long left. But yeah, regarding our post-week market review, so overall the market started off bullish at the start of the week, positively correlating itself with the dollar index, which was a weird thing to see because normally they those two pairs negatively correlate. So it was sort of weird to see the dollar index become bullish as well as the as gold. But then obviously as time would tell, you can see that we had that enormous drop, and now we are sort of fighting in this consolidation area. Indicating to us that a big move is coming. We could potentially see that that major correction take place where we sort of see price come all the way down to around 3,800. But as of right now, looking at our one time frame, we're just going to expect that price is going to continue to consolidate as long as we stay within these points of controls, or this value area high or value area low. And until we see one of those break, we will continue to take consolidating shorts and long positions. So with that being said, that's going to be our post-week market review. Not too much to go over, other than the fact that the gold has started its correction. We've seen an enormous move, over 3,000 pip move here, just sort of in a couple days within sort of the same 24 hours. So significant things happening with gold, but as of sort of overall bias, it's going to sort of say the same. We're going to expect overall the price is going to continue on bullish until we need to see sort of a very significant higher time frame bearish flip. And obviously it doesn't really mean anything to us if we see an enormous bearish candlestick, because we want that continued order flow. So if we see a continued bearish if we see a continued bearish move, then obviously we're going to expect that or anticipate the price is flipping. If we just sort of see a little bearish move here and there, it's just sort of sellers getting back into the market, taking a little bit of control and getting those short positions on. And of course, there's a lot of economic stuff happening around gold. I believe last week was quite intense in terms of high economic news events, so there's obviously that as well, and there's other stuff happening around the world that will affect the price of gold. So yeah, but like I said, we're going to be focusing on this main consolidation area. I have these levels marked in here. This level is around 4,115, 146, and then sort of 48. So just sort of, if you want to mark those levels in, and then this is sort of this consolidation area we're looking for. If we see a break above the value area high, we're going to anticipate longs. If we see a break through this point of interest, we're going to anticipate the price will continue, same as, and then vice versa for a bearish move. So once again, that's going to be our post-week market review. As always, I hope you have all enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in our midweek technical analysis video. Peace.